Good evening, Bulls fans. I'm Matt Gritzmacher without my handy name thing on the bottom. I am joined by a post-graduation, newly bachelorized John McWhinney, who's able to join the Olympic Rundown again. Sabbatical not quite over, but we've got him. We've got him for today. Graduation happened, and so while we still have a little bit of the UB year left, baseball still got this week going. Individual track and field athletes might still be going a little bit. I can cross my fingers that Ryan Cribben will qualify for nationals. We'll see what happens. This is going to be our last dedicated podcast for our Olympic sports coverage of the year. We will today talk about track and field MAC championships, what happened this past weekend. Again, not to spoil too much, but Ryan Cribben, woohoo. We'll talk about rowing CAA championships. They're in a different been a tough time to do research lately for reasons we talked about on the last show. So I'll tell you how rowing does at the same time that I learned it myself when I read it later. And we'll catch up with what baseball did very quickly. Tim covers baseball, and we'll make sure they get their due on here. And then what John and I thought John thought it would be a good idea. Let me give full credit to him. Was in honor of graduation. This year's been we haven't really done the senior salutes the same way we did in the past this year. I think next year I'm going to handle seniors quite a bit differently. But even so, just because it was graduation, before we got to what this year will be the second annual Bull Run Awards, which we'll do on a 5-day series in a couple weeks once John and I talk more about them. We do want to just spend the rest of the show that we have time talking about UB's graduating seniors and kind of all of our Olympic sports, all these teams that we've been covering on a weekly basis. Over the last 2 years have really built up coverage looks like and what all of UB. John, I meant to bring you in more quickly than I have here, but hello.
Hi everybody. Yeah, I'm a college graduate now. It's weird.
Yeah.
Not really too different from the day before graduation, but starting to slowly sink in that it's finally over, and now I get to be an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I get to do this so I can forget about the real world and all of my real world responsibilities. So that's
a good thing to do.
A plus.
I'm a fan of that. Great. Track and field, MAC championships. If you've been following, we really, between John making sure to wrap up and actually get those degrees, he kind of had to fall off for a bit, which is fine. Real life definitely had to come first for me in the last month. Big things that we've been talking about this year in track and field is that a large portion of the men's side is out. Obviously, the men's team had to replace some pretty skilled field athletes, not just John Jones from last year, but some jumpers, a couple guys here and there. We've been very impressed over the course of the indoor season and the outdoor season with the sprinters on both the men's and the women's side. But really what we would say is the core and strength of the team. Mid-distance guys like Brian Crimmins and Tyler Sheving, do everything field guy like Mike Morgan, who next, I think he's only got, we thought this year would be his last year. Hopefully the red shirt works out. Is a legitimate national title contender in both the heptathlon indoors and the decathlon outdoors. The kind of heir apparent to the shot put crown for UB, Devon Patterson, also sitting out, possibly for a mix of reasons. At one point in this year, I heard, rumblings of thing, even though the Olympic roundup will be wrapping up, we'll definitely be covering those Jones, but some of these other guys might be in there. We have some names from swimming and diving that will be competing. We'll see what happens. That said, a little bit of a thin year for track and field. Big news comes out of the men's side. We did manage a MAC championship this year. We did manage another MAC championship in the shot put. which I think John now gives us 8 straight. Jones won every single one for 3 years, and Cribben won indoor and outdoor.
Yeah, so it's 14 of the last 16 overall since 2009.
Yeah, which that's Rob Golombek won the ones pre-Jones. Rob Golombek was this most successful UB athlete ever, except for I guess Becky O'Brien. Won all these MAC championships, competed at the U.S. Olympic trials, competed at U.S. championships once, I think, and kind of John McRae coming in, real quick, or I don't know who came in after. Who is our whatever? We don't talk about basketball on the show. Anyway, between Rob Golombek and John Jones, and Ryan Cribben has done it now, and he's coming back next year. So we've got him, Devon Patterson. I don't know if we've actually said the words that Ryan Cribben won the MAC championship in the shot put. I think he was our lone champion, John. His first throw was his weakest throw, and that would have been good enough for second. And the guy who finished second only had 2 of his 4 or 5 successful throws longer than that. So it wasn't quite John Jones winning it by 1.5 meters, waking up at midnight and winning the MAC championship, but he won, and that's what matters, top of the podium. That's, the strength that UB's had, as we're saying. The strength that UB's had is the throwers. Jim Garnham is just one of the best coaches in the country in any discipline, and we have him for our throwers. Sprinters, John, Darian Johnson in particular was a real pleasant already, but he just really took a big step forward this year. He finished not first in the 100-meter dash, right?
Second.
I can take second. Kent State and Akron just seem to be able to pull these sprinters out of the ground. Little bit stinks after he won the 60-meter dash indoors, but we'll take second. I was really impressed moving up the ladder a little bit. Josh Galley has been solid since his freshman year, but this year I really think he took a step forward. I'm pretty sure he finished third in the 400-meter dash this year. I've kind of been talking about him all spring because he's been very consistent with his times. He's been solidly, I think just under 47, either just under 47 or just under 48, which is he's around a half second off the UB record in both indoors and outdoors. And I think in both indoors and outdoors, he's already the second fastest UB's had. He's got a senior season left in him. A 400 at max is a real solid result. We kind of grow accustomed. Talking about Jones and Cribben, Patterson, Golombek before them all. Thinking about Mike Morgan, who even when he was competing last year, didn't actually compete in these events at the MAC championship. So I guess maybe we shouldn't think about Mike Morgan. But a third place finish in the 400 is real solid. The trick for UB will be with their fewer scholarships than a lot of the rest of the MAC has, is getting a second and third guy to finish in the points in these events. But way to go, Josh Galley. Third place in the 400. Real solid junior season for Josh. I'm looking forward to see what comes out of it next year. I think I've talked about Amy Shaw's 2015 a lot and how that ballooned into a very strong cross-country season for her. And she's had a great track year as well on the women's side, of course. I've mentioned a bit on Twitter that I think John McCarthy is following a very similar he's already been a name to watch out for. And certainly after this strong finish of the year, should be a name to watch out for next year. And we'll see what he can put together now with the summer to weight train and heal or whatever injuries are there. John, that's what I can think of from the men's side. What else do we have?
On the men's side, the 4x1 also finished in third.
Okay.
That was the only other real thing of note. On the
Laurent Dure, who I actually should learn how to pronounce his last name. I don't know if it's Dure or Dure. But Laurent, our high jumper, I think he finished 4th or 5th, which isn't necessarily something to write home about, but he did clear 6.9, which I'm happy with. I feel like that's a good mark for him. If I opened the right web page, I could find out if it's a season best or not. I feel like Mike Morgan holds the school record at 6'11 and a half, around there too, but 6'9" I think is better than Dewar had done all season. Yeah, season best height. They've got it at 2.06 meters, but it's 6'9", which is great. If there was ever a time to have a season best, it was there. Those jumps really, I was surprised, John, as we were looking through the jumps before the show, at how strong the rest of the MAC was. You know, Dure, not sure. I really need to look that up. 6'9", still finished 4th or 5th. Our triple jumpers, Kaishan Cathy and someone finished in front of him, Austin Price. Austin Price jumped 14.8 in the triple jump, which isn't amazing, but is a strong number. That was good for 5th place. I don't think we had anything of note in the long jumps, unfortunately. In the triple jump, again, not only a season best, a personal best, but also the 3rd longest jump in school history. And this kind of speaks to the scope of track and field with kind of a program that has a different number of scholarships than the rest of the MAC. 3rd longest jump in the triple jump in school history on the women's side for Crystal Henderson. It was just good for 4th place at the MAC championships. So very nice to see ways to go there. And that's something I wanted to point out about the field events, was it just felt like, oh, those are good distances. I think Austin Ashby did 7.33 in the long jump, now that I think about it. And that's a good number. That was the number that Ryan Billion hit in the MAC championships a couple of years ago. He went to nationals and was a 2nd-team All-American. And it wasn't good enough to win the MAC this year. So something to be said there. On the women's side, Malaya White finished 5th in the 100. Northern Illinois has that pair of sprinters. I think Aisha Muhammad and has a pair of sprinters that are just, I think they finished 1st and 4th, which I was surprised to not see them go 1-2. But 5th place for Malaya White, who lowered the school records in those sprint events a couple times this year. I think Kamari Long was 6th or 7th in the 200. That's a bit of a disappointment to me. She did not have the senior season I was really hoping for after her junior year. And to be honest, I haven't had the time to look and see and look into it. Our sprinters, though, did show up in the relay on the women's side, John.
That they did. They finished 2nd in the 4x1, which is kind of surprising, seeing as Malaya White was the only one to place in the individually. But yeah, as a squad, they managed the silver medal. The silver medal there.
Yeah, and Malaya White, Kamari Long, 4x1, Crystal Henderson. Kind of it for celebratory things on the women's side. It's really surprising, and I know this, just how few entries they had, let alone where folks finished. Just kind of a few entries there. It was kind of surprising to see kind of the middle distance and the long distance struggle as much as they did. Maybe looking at the times again, I have not been tuned in as much this spring as I normally would be. Maybe by times they were all very strong races, and the MAC is just very, very strong this year. But that's kind of the story of the MAC championships. That's what I have to say about that. I didn't put this on our agenda, but I do want to highlight from softball, whose season has ended, 2 things. One UB related, one not. First, UB related, Savannah Norcio and Katie Weimer were both named All-MAC. Honestly, haven't even read the press release on it, just saw the tweet, which is great. Katie Weimer absolutely deserves it, set the school record for RBIs in a season this year as a freshman. Also absolutely deserves it, was top 5 in the MAC in batting average or on base percentage or both. And I believe top 3 or 4 season ever for batting average at UB. She was the one who got on base all the time for Katie Weimer to drive in. And so they both absolutely deserve it. The other thing in softball is that Miami beat Ohio in the MAC championship, which I was glad to see because I still have nightmares of Savannah Jo Dorsey cutting through our lineup in Trina Peel's first year when we had all those home run hitters. And Tori Speckman in the circle, and Savannah Jo Dorsey was just better. So rarely say things like this about other student athletes, at least other student athletes not named Matt Johnson, but I am glad that Savannah Jo Dorsey didn't win. And I'm sure she's lovely and a great student athlete and a good representative of Ohio, but this is just what happens when you wear different colors and root for different teams, is sometimes I want you to lose. So that's just some news from softball. I remember the fly. The championships this past weekend was rowing. Women's rowing, which I try just to call rowing, had the Colonial Athletic Association championships this past weekend. Don't really know when the CAA expanded from 4 to 6 teams, but they have 6 teams now. And you be kind of, if you've been following, not just this year, but the last couple of years, you know that rowing's kind of been, I think, stagnant is even maybe a charitable way to put it. They've just, there were a few years there around 2008, 2010, where rowing was very, very strong, both within our conference and in the Northeast. Last couple of years, that's been less true. John, did you have something to say? Or
No, it's just a yawn. I've between graduation and moving, and I'm just exhausted. It's okay.
I understand that. No, we are finishing this show, and I am going to bed instantly. So I understand that. Rowing wise, with pretty much as wide a gap from 5th and 6th, this is out of 6 teams, as there was from 1st to 5th, which is a bit frustrating to see. Second varsity 8, they did not finish last. They finished 5th out of 6. Varsity 4 was perhaps the best showing in a 6-team field. They finished 4th, and I think the varsity 4 boat was generally the stronger one all season when we saw, results from wider regattas and larger things. And then the third varsity 8 finished 4th as well. They don't do any novice or freshman races in the conference championship. So that's the end of the season for women's rowing, I think. Could be wrong. I think they have something else on their schedule, but if it's a regional or national championship, I don't think they qualified for it. Yeah, NCAA championships at the end of the month. I don't think they qualified for a trip to Sacramento. Mentioned that baseball still has a week left in action. Tim has been doing a great job this year covering baseball. We kind of leave that to him outside of the show because that was the first team that he covered in the spring back when Bull Run was still not even on SB Nation. Since we spoke, well, I shouldn't say since we spoke last, but since in the last week, baseball got a doubleheader win over Niagara and then split a series against Hofstra, which they had to play downstate. Won the first one of that series 11-3, lost the second one 2-1. So, your kind of classic not so good baseball team result. When the offense clicks, they can weather some issues and put up 11 runs and win. And in tighter games, you lose a tighter game where those little things make more of a difference. And lost 2-1. Mm-hmm. I'm particularly interested in this Niagara doubleheader, and I forgot that baseball still had 2 more games against them tomorrow. Probably a good thing that I didn't write this post already because I forgot about those 2 games, John. But if we didn't cross it 4 days ago on May 12th, tomorrow, and it will be a full calendar year without a loss to Niagara in any sport. Which I think is great. Like I just said that, nice things about Savannah Jo Dorsey, who I do want to lose, but I, hope that she is, a good person and represents Ohio well. Niagara, I have none of those nice things to say. I feel, Niagara, Canisius a little less so, but Niagara, Bonaventure, Binghamton, Albany a little less so because they have lacrosse and whatever. Stony Brook to a pulp, and the way that Syracuse treats us is the way I want to treat the rest of the state. Like, not even acknowledge their existence is worthwhile. Just, brush the dust off the top of the shoes after we finish beating them in every sport for an entire calendar year, which is what we're on the cusp of doing with the Niagara Purple Eagles. So for how badly I want 2 wins tomorrow from baseball.
And actually, baseball's 3-win streak between the doubleheader in Niagara and then winning the first of the doubleheader against Hofstra is their first 3-win streak since late February, when they won their series against Tennessee Martin. So I think everyone's known. It's been known for a while that baseball was having a rough season, but it's nice to see something positive at the end.
Yeah, that was not the direction I was going with that tidbit, so I'm glad you caught me by surprise with it. It definitely is positive. I mean, and 2-1 game, I mean, I'll dive in the box score real quick here, having admittedly no idea what happened. 2-1 game, both teams had 7 hits. UB had 1 error. Let's see if either of those runs were unearned. No, both runs were earned. Yeah, so just a matter of... Yeah, UB left 8 on base, Hofstra left 9 on base. So there were guys all over the diamond that could have scored. Just that's the difference between a 2-1 loss and UB's first four-game win streak at the end of the year for them. That Tennessee Martin series. Hopefully we don't get any hate mail from Niagara about something Tim wrote about wins, like the hate mail we got from a Tennessee Martin parent. I think that was before your sabbatical, John. I hope it was. But apparently pointing out that the other team's pitching was not good is worthy of hate mail, which we do write things that are sometimes worthy of hate mail, and we try to make those things fewer and further between lately, but sometimes we don't succeed. These 2 games against Niagara for baseball on Tuesday, that's tomorrow, and then a 3-game homestand series against Bowling Green. I'm pretty sure that UB does not have a shot and prolonging their season. I'm pretty sure this is it for the week. Tim would be able to tell us that, and maybe he will in time. Maybe he already has. I don't know. Just trying to catch up. With that, John, why don't you start us off, because this was your idea.
Oh, yeah. So, as Matt mentioned earlier, what I thought we could do is just kind of have a conversation, like a little back and forth about all the seniors that are graduating this year with me.
I know that it's still setting in, John, but we can say have graduated.
Or have, oh yeah, gosh. Yeah, it's the last 48 hours have just been a complete blur to me.
Well, I mean, I realize that it's ridiculous for a 25-year-old to say things that make me feel old or this or that, but just for a little context, Captain America Civil War has come out this month, and it's wonderful, and I very much enjoyed it, and John is like my Marvel guru that I go to talk. When I graduated from college, it was the week that the Avengers came out, and I don't remember the 48 hours around my graduation because I went to see the Avengers at midnight with my college buddies, my roommates, the night before our graduation. And so I think John's not had a trip to the movies, but
I went to the premiere of Civil War before a senior design poster expo. It was the night before that for us.
All right.
Civil War came out a week before graduation.
Oh, that's no good. But it's done now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a little less about me, a little bit more about the student athletes we're talking about.
Yeah, about the reason that we're here.
Really kind of light all around outside of men's tennis and women's soccer as far as seniors go. But really, I guess we could start with women's soccer, where the biggest losses.
Yeah, I think
Jackie Hall, Kristen Markowitz, Cassidy Kidd.
Nadia Johnson.
Nadia Johnson.
I can't type Nadia's name in all caps when I'm only saying it aloud. I don't actually know if anyone picked up on that, but for basically the entire last year, anytime I write Nadia's name, I write it in all caps. It's because I was so excited that she fought back from some really troubling health issues to get back on the field and play. Her first game back was in Philadelphia, the season openers this year. I was able to see that. And she scored a goal against Binghamton. Again, hate Binghamton. And I'm pretty sure her parents were in attendance at that Binghamton game. I got to see her score a goal after fighting back from everything.
Oh, yeah, and I was at that game. I remember that.
That was a long time ago in the growth of a blog. Hopefully,
Goodness, that was...
without engineering classes, we can keep John. I think, I think conceptually Jackie Hall, the former third-team All-American, former MAC Defensive Player of the Year, All-MAC player, middle of the defense, on a defense that really, really struggled to replace Sophie Therian. And this coming year is going to, again, have holes. We can talk about something of a season preview later, but I think you've got to leave Andrea Kniper as kind of a holding midfielder rather than putting her on the back line. They're going to have to replace not just a senior, but Brianna Shingary, which is another story for another day. Conceptually, Jackie Hall is tactically the biggest thing. Nadia Johnson, for as much as I love her and loved watching her play 12, 15 minutes a game, Kristen Markowitz will be a big loss on the defense as well. She really shifted around the last 2 years. But I honestly think, John, and this is entirely put here, I think Cassidy Kidd is the senior who, across all sports, I almost wish we didn't start with women's soccer, so we didn't spoil the lead the whole time here. But it's gonna be very weird seeing a UB game without Cassidy Kidd next year. And yeah. I can't think of another senior. As much as we love all the seniors, we're going to continue to talk about them here. I can't think of another senior who is so much a part of his or her team and so much the standard bearer for them this year. Last year in men's basketball, we had Will Regan and Xavier Ford, and it's this team is going to look wildly different without those two. And of course, a bunch of other stuff happened. This year, I think it's Cassidy Kidd. She hit all those posts, hit the crossbar 7 times before she started scoring goals, and then she scored 5 goals in 3 games. Is just, to the extent that we allow ourselves to look into the social media world of student athletes, just an absolute class act, is now or is it pharmacy? One or the other. One of the very difficult programs to do at UB.
Physical therapy.
I think it's physical therapy too. And just a class act, captain of the team and absolutely a leader, very clearly a leader on and off the field, and someone who it's just going to be weird not to see her on. And UB, UB doesn't have someone right now to replace Jackie Hall. UB does still have Selena Carrero. Rebecca Bramble showed promise. Nicole Garrett showed promise, up top. There's still Carissa Macatrona up top. But it just in all those little things, Cassidy Kidd's going to be a tough one to miss and lose. Nadia, of course, just an incredible story. Incredible perseverance for her to get back. Oh, my goodness, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. The goalie. John, help me out.
Mackenzie. Yes.
Yeah. So she, only appeared in her senior, who just fought back from really incredible. I hate to make value judgments here and put anything towards a ranking, but really an even more incredible comeback than Nadia. But she was able to get into a game and make a save, and play for UB again. Just some real between Nadia and Mackenzie. Cassidy, I can't speak to Kristen as much. I mean, she was obviously a long-term, she was a member of the MAC all-freshman team. So she was a 4-year important part of the team. And then Jackie Hall, emotionally, it's a very big group leaving for women's soccer. We kind of started this off saying women's soccer and men's tennis are the only ones that we really think are losing big numbers this year, but and it's the same number that women's soccer lost last year with Courtney Mann and Megan Geeson and Courtney Mann and Sophie Therian. It's kind of the same number, but it feels like a really big gut punch. I don't want to go through all these seniors modularly, John, like sport by sport, but we've kind of started off down that way. Let's give you wrestling, John. Tyler Rill's coming back. Mama McBride's coming back.
So I wrote the senior salutes for wrestling for Tyler Rill, Muhammad McBride, and Rock Nadoke, and Corey Hollister. Half of those guys are coming back, which is great. McBride was given an extra year of eligibility from the NCAA.
Rill, I think, still had a year, and we just felt like he wasn't going to use it.
If he can stay injury-free, which has been difficult, I know he had the big injury, not this year, but the prior year. This year he had dealt with some nagging injuries throughout the season. If he can just stay healthy for a whole season, he can do pretty well. Muhammad, he was one or two matches shy. I'm pretty sure it was one match shy of qualifying for the NCAA championships at the MAC tournament. And Muhammad, when you watch him wrestle, especially on his feet, you can tell he has a freestyle background, and he is excellent on his feet, just working on the more finesse things on the mat. And another year will definitely help that and maybe push him over the hump and get to, I was just about to say Madison Square Garden, but the NCAA championships aren't there next year. They're in, I believe they're in St. Louis, Missouri.
Square Garden was. We need to stay on topic with the seniors. The Madison Square Garden was such a great venue for it. It was wonderful to watch online, and I imagine folks who are in person would be great. Men's soccer, we're hitting kind of this is it now for men's soccer. Riddle has invested so much into the Russell Cicerone class, and they're now seniors. Outgoing this year are a couple of names who played very quietly huge roles in the program. And Marcus Hansen has a distinct style that really nobody on UB can replace. He's kind of a big-bodied guy up front, really complimentary to Russell Cicerone in a way. As Scott Doney kind of tailed off this year, Hansen played a bigger role, and he had a memorable goal. Soccer season was so long ago. He had a memorable goal on like senior day or late in the MAC season to ice something. Another one of those guys, kind of like Kristen Markowitz, that just like has been there, has been there for a while. It's going to be very weird to watch a game without him, especially because I don't know who can fill that role really up top. It's just going to be a different look. Which UB can succeed. They made it to the MAC championship game this year, MAC championship match soccer. They've got the talent there. But Hansen's one of those guys who's just always been around, stepped in as a freshman and was contributing. Another guy that, I really, really liked and would have loved to see get more time on men's soccer is Dylan Cope, who transferred in as a junior and just played the last 2 years with UB. But I really liked the presence he had in the midfield. I don't know how many men's soccer games you got to see this year, John, but I like Dylan Cope based on the Canisius game back in 2014. I thought he turned the tide of that game. He's other, and then the other graduating senior from men's soccer is but men's soccer is a lot like a lot of the other teams that we're going to get to. We talked at length about women's soccer just now, but everyone else doesn't have much. And um, I don't know if you have anything to say about men's soccer, John. I feel like I'm
Uh,
just rolling.
Men's soccer, no, I think you hit basically everything that I would have said. Another person from a different, moving on to a different team that fits the will be weird without this person playing. I think is Megan Lipsky from.
I was just going to go to volleyball. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Another been around for 4 years. Has been in the lineup basically all 4 years. And this past year was, I would say, UB's best player.
Yeah, that was one of our big questions. You'll remember in kind of our summer series was Talia Bishop left and Lipsky's got to be number one now, and can she do it? As a junior, she had those days, but she was generally inconsistent, and she, the start of the season for her wasn't terrifically strong. It was good. It was, she's clearly our number one hitter, but then somewhere around MAC play, she just started getting 15 kills a game for like a month straight. Was absolutely the emotional leader of that team. On a team with some high-profile players at other positions. I mean, Cassie Shadow had an incredible year and was really, I think, jobbed by the MAC awards. If we want to stick with seniors, Akilah Lane had a very big year, maybe a little bit less than she did as a junior. But Akilah Lane is on the way out. And actually, I think it's only Lipsky and Lane. Oh, and Marissa Prinsbach, a setter who transferred in.
And Amber Hatchett got the medical red shirt.
Yes, she did.
She's coming back.
Yeah, that's why I was going to volleyball next, because I was going to connect it to wrestling as someone else that we have coming back. And, another thing that we wrote about early in the season or over last summer was Shadow, Lane, and Hatchet. How do you make room for all three? Suck. But you make room by Hatchet suffering a season-ending injury, I guess. But what it does mean is we've got her coming back next year, and she and Shadow will be tremendous next to each other. I think Hatchet is a slightly better hitter than Cassie Shadow, and they're both just great blockers. Prinsbach at setter, it's been a long time since volleyball season. I didn't really prepare for this and go back and read what we had to say, what Paige had to say in our comments and stuff. But she put together a real strong year for us. She obviously came to play for Sunahara, stuck around, didn't really have a choice, but stuck around for Coach Blair Brown Lipsitz. I can't really remember anything about her season. She might have gotten hurt for a stretch, John. I just can't remember.
Oh, wow. That's asking me to go way far back. Holy cow.
Yeah, she got hurt after the Kent State game and played in the 5-setter against Eastern Michigan, and that was it season. I wish I could remember why, if it was back injuries or a concussion. Volleyball season was so long ago.
And another.
She came and played for us, and we are appreciative of it. That's one thing that I want to get across. Sorry to cut you off, John. Is
that's fine.
a big part of my motivation, a big part of the reason why I agreed so readily to kind of talk about the seniors with John for kind of our last show before the summer is, I write about this because I like writing about sports. I write about all the sports because I like all sports, and there's more room to talk. A lot of people want to talk football, fewer people want to talk soccer, and so there's room to talk with the people who really want to be in our conversations. But a big thing that I don't say often enough is that, I am just so honored that student athletes want to come and spend time representing, the school that I care about and the community that I care about. We don't say that enough, and there's really not much more to be said. And I just need to bring these seniors and their graduation and, their time with us, because it really, I don't know about John. John actually went to UB. So, maybe it moves him more, but I didn't go to UB, and I'm so moved that people come and spend time and choose to represent us and do so with such, just as such good people and people that are very easy to root for and very easy to write about and cheer for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, especially the people that are graduating this year that have graduated with me, some of these people I've known since before freshman year. I met some of them at freshman orientation the summer of 2012. And yeah, here we sit, or here I sit 4 years later, and I can kind of think back to that. And for me, both as being a former student, now current alumnus of UB, and getting to know some of them and going on that journey with them, it was a little bit different, at least from my perspective, than yours, because I've been with them the past 4 years, it's just, I have a new appreciation now for, because like in years past, or last year, we would do senior salutes, and it's like, oh yeah, they're graduating and whatever. But now that, I've graduated with the student athletes that I've known for years, it's just, it's different. It's different now for me, in my appreciation of, engineering school was hard, but going through what a student athlete goes through, going through that for 4 years is something that should be applauded, especially for those who make it through when they graduate and get their degree, especially on top of everything that goes with being a student athlete.
Absolutely. That was a bit unscripted from both of us, but it's definitely something that I know I want to say and want to say more often about this, and this is why we do what we can. We're kind of now, John, into kind of the sports that numbers-wise aren't losing as much.
Mm-hmm.
There's men's tennis, which is losing. Amar Homich, who transferred in mid-season last year and really stepped up as the number one singles for a lot of this year. Sergio, who will go down in UB history for his comeback last year. I mean, he had an incredibly strong senior year that almost snuck up on me by the time he got himself all the way up to number one singles by the postseason. But Sergio, he's just going to live down in UB history for what he did against Binghamton last year. Amar Homich stepped in and really gave a jolt of life to 2 years. There's also Akil Mehta, who this year had a very, very strong year from kind of the bottom of the rotation, getting points for UB. And then there's Pablo Alvarez, who former MAC Player of the Year, multiple-time All-MAC selection. I think he's going to go down as one of the 4 or 5 winningest bowls in all time, both by singles and combined stats. Let's see if Phil had updated the all-time book. I know he's doing the single season stuff. That's not updated, but Pablo Alvarez and Sergio this year both cleared 100 combined victories in their career, which would put them both, if not in the top 10, very much on the edge of the top 10. At UB all time, which is something to be said considering the 2 guys that graduated last year from men's tennis. We've seen such leaders for the team. I'm just thinking about Sergio coming back against Binghamton. I was standing in a used bookstore, and I just decided not to leave because that's where the good stuff was happening. And this is last year. I spent like 2.5 hours in that bookstore, John. so like it just stinks that Sergio is leaving, and like he has to. His NCAA eligibility is up.
Yeah, it's funny. You were in the bookstore. I was in the library.
Yeah.
When all of that was going down.
Yeah, I got about once a month I go back and read my recap from that, where I detail like how the day went. Like there was a point in that day where I quoted the scores because UB had lost the doubles point and was like down, not catastrophically down, but just like down everywhere, and like on the way to like a 5 2. I can't get up. And like an hour and a half later, we're like on the verge of the comeback. And of course the comeback came from Sergio, who he was down like 5-0 in his third set and he won. Like it wasn't just like he happened to have a comeback. He won 3 straight service breaks. It's just one of those folks who you'll always have the memory. Like talking about Jackie Hall. Jackie Hall scored everything off of set pieces in her junior year. In the MAC championship run, she scored the championship winning goal. Cassidy Kidd had the assist off the crossbar in that Dana Little goal over Syracuse. John, or other folks we've already talked about.
Yeah, that Syracuse game, man. Yeah. My back was like seared to the seat. I was sitting what is now known as the was it the Gusevich Club now?
Yeah.
In the outdoor seats, the seats with the chair backs, and they're black. And the entire game, I was sitting there, and the sun was just beating down, not a cloud in the sky. And I go to give up, and like I can just feel my back peeling off the seat.
Yeah.
Great game though.
Great game.
Great game.
Let me run through some names that I just kind of know we won't have much to talk about. Unfortunately, sorry.
Antonio Lanzi is one that just came.
Well, we have plenty to talk about for Antonio Lanzi. Mason Miller's here, and the fate of UB sprinters on the men's side, on the men's swimming and diving side, is in good hands. But there was a moment this winter where I thought we had another year from Antonio Lanzi, and I don't really know what I was thinking. But it was a great moment. I was psyched. I don't know the record books, but I think he finishes as one of the 2 or 3 fastest UB sprinters. Lanzi does. Other guys, so men's swimming and diving not hit very hard. Bill Caffey, a long distance freestyler, who took waiting. Derek Linebaugh was a real solid diver for us, especially once Cade Bennett disappeared. Maybe he didn't disappear, but he fell off my radar when he's not on the team anymore. Linebaugh will be a bit of a mix, although the divers had a stronger year than I expected. Billy Patram was a local guy, was always good for kind of a couple points at the, in the MAC championships and a couple events, was real solid across all the distance stuff, whether it was medleys or freestyle, was a bit of a butterfly guy as well, I think. Yes. And I think his mom was my 8th grade science teacher, which I only put together 2 months ago, which isn't really a reason to care right now, but it'll be weird not seeing that name because I only realized lately that it was significant to me. Otherwise, that's kind of it from swimming and diving. They have a very large senior class next year. When we do this edition of this next year, we're going to spend a lot of time in men's swimming and diving. But Lanzi is a big loss there.
On the women's side, Jess Powers is the big loss there.
That's one of the biggest losses across the whole department. I think she won 10 MAC championships, maybe more, in her career at UB. It's just ridiculous that in 3 straight years we've graduated Brittany Curris, Spencer Rodriguez, and Jess Powers. Who any one of them in their own right, short of maybe Mallory Morrell, would be the strongest swimmer that UB's ever had. Or at least I would, let me rephrase that, because I think Curris is the strongest. I think those 3 could be 1, 2, 3, and maybe I could make a case for Morrell as 2 or 3. Just a ridiculous run from women's swimming and diving. And if we could have put all of them together on the same team with Megan Burns, with Eve Costin, who we still have those 2 coming, unless Eve Costin is graduating. John, look it up quickly for me. I've got
no, it's only sophomore.
It's just catch me. It feels like I've been around for forever. Powers, Paula Stoddard in the free, and Alexis Valadon. I think that's it for seniors on the women's side there. Paula and Alexis, part of it's just my state of mind, my tiredness. Part of it's been a while since swimming ended. I feel like Alexis Valadon had her best season of her UB career this year. I honestly just can't remember. And I think Paula Stoddard made an appearance in some 4x2 relays. If we don't call 4 x blanks in swimming it's just 800 free and 400 free, whereas in track and field we can call it 4x1s and 4x4s and stuff. Yeah, Paula Stoddard had season bests, so that's as a junior. They haven't updated there. Well, she was definitely a contributor. I wish I could remember more about her right now. Men's track and field, as we said, is kind of a mess with some people. We're not quite sure where they stand because they're sitting out this year. But UB will definitely lose the 2 jumping Austins, Austin Ashby and Austin Coneys. Not Austin Coneys, Austin Ashby and Austin, unless we lost the other Austin last year. I feel silly. Well, Austin Ashby is graduating. We mentioned him in the long jump earlier tonight. Austin Coneys will graduate from the distance side. Some of the guys that I'm pretty sure are still around and have something left. Ryan Billion is listed as a senior. He's sitting out this year. I'm pretty sure he's got something. Brian Crimmins should have something left. Brian Comiskey, sprinter, might be going. Laurent Durr, finishes career. He might qualify for regionals with that 6'9", but if he didn't finish his career with a season best in the high jump this week at the MAC Championships. Craig Howard has been kind of the guy behind Mike Morgan, the combined event, be coming back. Austin Price, that's the other Austin. He was here this year, but he's a senior. As we understand it, Tyler Sheving should be back, and Derek Palafox is a distance guy who kind of snuck up on the cross-country side of things, John, kind of snuck up into the scoring 5 at times this year in the fall, which was cool, mostly because I just love the name Derek Palafox. And it's always good to see someone improve over time and contribute and work hard and see a program's depth in play, and, especially for a senior to do it and get a chance for a moment to shine there. Women's track and field, I think this is another sport that we're not losing a lot of. On the sprinting side, Kaylin Arcuri, I should have remembered that. She's probably was one of UB's better hurdlers on indoor season, at least. A lot of hurdlers graduating, Asher Beasley and Sabrina Bush. We really were pleased with UB's sprinting depth this year, John. We're losing them. Long, I think, is the big name. 200 extraordinaire, and Malaya White, 100 meter, now a multiple time school record holder after the senior season. Big hits to the sprinters for the women's side. Whereas the distance team's losing a few. Maggie Russell, I had the cross country one open and it's gone now. I think women's cross country is losing 3 runners to graduation and seniors. And I don't know where you'd like to go from there, John. I just kind of tried to run through people. I want to make sure we say every name, which I should get rowing up because I'm just gonna have to read them as well. Mm-hmm. But that leaves softball, which I think only has 2. Women's tennis only has 1, so we can get there.
And baseball has 4.
Baseball has 4, and I think that will be all right. Let me go through rowing now, and then we can talk about Diana Gassieva. Rowing, I always feel so bad for rowing. All I can do is read the names. Courtney Donovan, Megan O'Brien, Samantha Page, Erica Tentromano, Mackenzie Turpin, and Tracy Zajac. Thank you for representing the school we care about. Maybe some of you will be back with some sort of eligibility trickery like track and field has going. But for right now, unfortunately, that's the level of knowledge I have about your team, which I feel very badly about. But thank you to all of you for representing us. If you graduated, hopefully you did. I can't imagine you didn't, because rowing always has a strong APR. Congratulations on that. We had 3 teams left. Diana Gassieva, like Amar Hromich, John, was another transfer into UB. This is women's tennis now.
And she's from ASA College, which is one of the stronger JUCOs. Yeah, I was lost the word.
Yeah.
And she was a solid addition ever since she got here.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely stronger in doubles than singles. I don't think she played much in singles this year. She didn't play singles at all this year. But in doubles, she was a pretty significant mainstay in kind of our doubles lineup. Paired with Tanya Stoyanovska for a 6-2 record this season. In doubles, and I think had a winning record overall. 6-2 with Stoyanovska, 2-3 with Kotak. So that's 8-5, excuse me. 1-1 with Holterbosch. Yeah, so winning record overall in both of her seasons in doubles, and she was our number one doubles, and we won a couple close matches for UB women's tennis this year, and where that doubles point came into play. In 2 years, she racked up 25 doubles wins, pretty much always playing at first or second. And so that'll be a pretty big loss. One of the big things with doubles is obviously it's no longer an individual thing. It's that chemistry means a lot. And Stoyanovska is someone who has played both doubles and singles for us for 2 years now. And hopefully, however the lineup gets reshuffled next year, it's someone who she has chemistry like she does with Agassieva, because they went 6-2 this year, as I mentioned. Another one of those folks who transfers in and, puts in a lot of good work very quickly. And it's almost a shame. I mentioned it with Dylan Cope. Didn't mention it with Amar Homich, but I'll mention it now. Same with Diana Agassieva. It's almost weird to think that they were not here for 4 years, because they did endear themselves to us and really put forth some wins and some solid contributions in that shorter time. Lauren Gambone's another one of those, I guess, if I'm going to move on to softball, Diamond Sports. Gambone only transferred in last year. I think had a stronger junior season than senior season. She basically has hit fewer homers this year. But Lauren Gambone. And then Kenzie Cook, John, is another one of those ones who, name just kind of keeps popping up. We've been on softball now for 3 years. Basically, we started covering them more when Trina Peel came on. Kenzie Cook's one of those names that's just been around. I remember she hit her first career homer in 2015 or early this year. I don't remember, but in 2015 she started 26 games. Was a maybe not a regular starter, but she's been playing since she was a freshman. Played in 35 games as a freshman, so she's clear of probably 130, 140 games in her UB career.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. That's someone who's played a whole lot for UB, and this is a sport where the career stats tab can help me out. Definitely had her biggest year of her career this year. Finishes with 207 career at-bats, and 125 of them, 226 of them were this year. Season in pretty much every category. Hit her first career home run this year. Just there's something to be said, really, genuinely, for the folks who just produce constantly. Kenzie Cook was never a All-MAC player, never made an All-MAC team, but is a name that we know because she was just around for so long, just kind of like Kristen Markowitz that stepped in, and it's one of those players that's just gonna be weird to see her gone. Gambone had ridiculously similar stats across her 2 years. 134 at-bats in both seasons, John, 11 runs in both seasons. 21 RBI as a junior and 20 RBI as a senior. Bit of a tail off. More home runs this year to finish with 11 home runs, which just for kicks and giggles. I think Holly Luciano or Sammy Gallardo had 11 home runs alone in Trina Peel's first season, which was just ridiculous how all this offensive power came out of nowhere. But anyway, I just want to look up the all-time record book and see how high up Lauren Gambone is after 2 seasons. Career records. Home runs. So Kelly Malone is 5th in UB history with 13 home runs in her career. I don't quite know who all might have 12 or 11, but Lauren Gambone in 2 seasons almost broke into the top 5. One of UB's all-time best sluggers, which is pretty awesome. I think that her 7 home runs is tied for 5th, or 7 home runs from 2015 is tied for 5th, all time on UB's books, which is a heck of a thing to get from a transfer who comes in and plays for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Lauren.
And I'm going to piggyback off of that and flip over to baseball. Another transfer who came in and played
Mike Abrunzo.
Uh,
Sorry, should have let you go with that.
No, it's okay. He came in. He's played in 89 games so far in his 2 years at UB, and he's produced 81 hits.
Yeah.
Out of 89 games, has had a stronger senior season in terms of number of hits and RBIs. Wow, he's been walked 37 times. Interesting.
Scaring pitchers.
Did not know that. But all around, he's had a stronger season. He's hit fewer home runs this season than he did last year, but he has a higher batting average, higher slugging, slightly lower slugging percentage, higher on base percentage.
Yeah.
And for a team that struggled, he's produced consistently.
Oh, sorry. Finish your sentence.
Oh no, you go ahead.
Okay. You were saying for a team that struggled a lot. I'm looking at the other seniors at UB for baseball this year, and really, they're guys who have really stepped up and been pleasant surprises. Bobby Shepard is hitting .330 on base percentage, 400. He's got more walks than strikeouts, which is pretty hard to do at any level. Actually, Abrunzo has more walks than strikeouts as well. But Shepard is just, if you've even only caught 2 or 3 baseball recaps or games this year, the season that Shepard is having. He's not quite Nick Sene-like numbers, but I'm going to make that comparison, and I might hear about it from Tim later. But really been an offensive force, kind of top of the order guy. Another, I think, and maybe I just missed this from last year, but is Brandon Mumma, who stepped into the starting rotation and is 3rd on the team in innings pitched. He's 4-6, win-loss record this year, which obviously isn't something that's great, but he does have 2 complete games. UB's only thrown 3 complete games this year. Mumma's got 2 of them. He's gone deep into the game. He's had 9 starts, and Sean Dubin also has 9 starts. Sean Dubin's a junior, but in the same number of starts, Brandon Mumma has thrown 16 more innings than Dubin. So he's a guy who's been able to help the team out by lessening some of the strain on the bullpen. He's got the lowest ERA on the team. If I do some very quick math, I'm pretty sure he's got the best strikeout to walk ratio on the team. Yes, he must. Of the folks who've gotten substantial minutes, he's got the best strikeout to walk ratio on the team, best ERA. And admittedly, the best ERA. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong column. Well, ignore that last sentence. Anyway, admittedly, baseball is Tim's. He kind of covers it, and I get caught up in the end of swimming season and basketball season. But I've really felt that Mumma has put together a real solid season. That ability to go deep in games is critical, especially for a team like this year that kind of is struggling depth-wise. And he and Shepard have really stepped up this year and been guys who have shown up. And then the other senior is Ben Hartz, who's only appeared in 8 games, has pitched a couple of innings. I don't know if he's gotten any plate appearances. I don't think he has. So he's been very much a spot reliever. Did you have anything on the other baseball guys? I kind of took that over.
No.
Okay. Well, we are both exhausted for different reasons. We did that without planning, and I think it went okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, right? We got every name. I might not have gotten women's cross country. And this is Olympics. We know basketball and football exist, but they get covered so much in other places, including by the two of us on the site, that we just never include them on this show. This is the Olympic show. The two names that I want to make sure I get from women's cross country are Danielle Vasquez and Megan Wessel. I'm pretty sure all of the men's cross country I included in the track and field lineup, but just in case. Oh, Cam Bruce wasn't on the track and field. He'll be a big miss for sure. He was, UB's top guy the last 2 years. And then Frankie File, who was a local guy who stuck around with UB and really pushed it through to have a full career. We really appreciate that as well. I'm glad I went back and checked those cross-country ones. It's graduation is happening here. There is still a little bit of UB action left this year. Certainly baseball's got a week, and at least Ryan Cribben and maybe a few others, track and field, have some time. And then there will be, outside of NCAA competition, there will be still some live competition to cover, including some wrestling. We can't have one of these without some wrestling, even if I just say the word and move on. But we'll be doing that outside of our weekly shows. So this will be the last Olympic Rundown podcast of the year. Kind of fell off in the spring, but we did the best we could. We'll learned a lot that we can help and be better next year. We will see you August. Let's see. I think it's going to be August 29th. Maybe Monday the 20th. Oh, hold on. I always get this messed up. I can't remember when women's soccer is opening. There's Open State College. It's Bonaventure. So we will see you on either Sunday, August 21st, or Monday the 22nd, depending on how easily I'm able to get back from Penn State for their actual season opener. In the meantime, keep an eye out both for the little bits of ongoing stuff that we'll see. John and I will have that. The first week after the last UB competition is wrapped up, last year was John Jones NCAA National Championship in track and field. This year it might be a little earlier. That first week will be the second annual Bull Run Awards. That is John and I, going through team by team and really highlighting the best that UB had of the year. We had a lot of fun putting it together last year. Haven't talked about it as much as we should have by now this year, but we're going to have a lot of fun putting together. It was a lot of fun to sift through the memories. So keep an eye out on that. And then we'll get started on summer stuff and getting ready for the fall again. We've got, we just talked about all the seniors. We've got freshmen coming in. We've got encouraging up in roles. It's not crazy to already be excited for next year as well. John, I feel like I should give you the last word.
Oh gosh. Yeah. We'll be around over the summer once I get my whole professional and adult life figured out, which that's asking a lot of a 21-year-old, but I'll manage. But yeah, I think we did well this year.
I think we did. I think just being able to stick to, it kind of had trouble in the winter and had trouble here, but definitely had more than 80% of our weeks, which we'll learn from. We learned more about the teams and more about the sports. We'll look forward to expanding. We were already in talk for. Thanks for a great year, UB, and there will be no break in our coverage. We just won't be doing this video anymore. But thanks for a great year, UB. We will see you on this venue in August. We'll see you in text on the site as soon as possible. Have a good one.